What's up, everyone, and welcome to your Friday's edition of Reptile News. Now today we're going to start off in Michigan, where alligator sightings are increasing. Now, everything else aside, I am so disappointed that we've talked about alligators in non-native areas this week so many times. But one thing, I mean, this story it's an important story because alligators in mid-Michigan, they don't belong there, and as said in the story, here in the next few months they're just gonna die there. One thing that upset me a little bit, and I'm not gonna bash the person, but I am gonna say, I'm gonna read from the article here. It says, it's a quote. It says, "When people want them, we'll order them, have them shipped in from Florida, hoping they have it all Googled and know what they're doing with them." Now that's the part that kind of bugs me about this, and I totally understand that if somebody's going to get an alligator, or any animal for that matter, it's absolutely their responsibility to know what they're doing and to have done their research and everything. But with the stuff that we've dealt with lately with the invasive species and everything, I am just such a big advocate for the people selling these being equally as, what's the word I'm looking for? Equally as responsible, I guess, for who they're selling it to. You can't just take a potentially deadly animal and sell it to anybody and hope that they've done their homework. I believe truly that if somebody doesn't prove in one way or another that they at least have some sort of clue about what they're doing and are ready to take on such a responsibility, that you should not be selling to them. And that's just my opinion, but I'd love to know what you guys think down in those comments down below. Do you believe that retailers, be it private breeders, all the way up to corporate chains, do you believe that they should hold and take on some responsibility for who they're selling to? Or do you believe that they're running a business and they're here to sell animals and they're not here to babysit people? I understand both parts of the story. I just don't agree with one of them. But you let me know what you think in those comments down below. And before we move on to our next story, I gotta mention, I have an air conditioner running behind me here, so hopefully it's not screwing up the audio too much, but it is kind of loud. You can kind of hear the air blowing. And with that, we move on to Vermont, where some kind of awkward news came out of some frogs populations exploding, which was weird. It's contrary to everything that we've talked about in recent years, but an exciting turn of events. So apparently they have something. Apparently they believe it has something to do with climate change, and where the frogs usually lay their eggs in the floodplains by the creek, usually they dry out before they hatch. But this year, with the awkward weather they've all hatched, and then the warm spell has accelerated their growth, causing hundreds of thousands of frogs to survive. But like I said, it's such in contrary to what we're normally talking about the decline of amphibians. And just because they have hundreds of thousands of more of these frogs in Vermont than they usually have doesn't necessarily mean that amphibians are out of hot water. But I'm definitely interested to see where they go maybe next year, if they have a normal summer, or what happens to this population as years pass. And now we're going to move on to Arizona as well as New Mexico, where the Fish and Wildlife Service has proposed protections for the narrow-headed and the northern Mexican garter snakes. And the funny thing about these laws is, while this is an amazing thing, this all started back in 2013, where they were supposed to designate 420,000 acres as critical habitat for these snakes, and the deadline actually for the final ruling is April 13th, 2021. So you look at the length of time that it takes to do something like this, and I just gotta wonder how better off they would be if they could speed the process up a little bit. Now, of course, a revised rule for critical habitat will be proposed in 2020, a year in advance of the final rule, and it will be open for public comment, but I'm not sure anybody would have any issues with setting aside 420,000 acres of critical habitats to some pretty cool looking snakes. And that, my friends, is going to be all your news for this Friday. If you'd like to read any more about these stories, those links are right down below here in the description. And as always, if you're still watching, my name is Jason White. Now you know what's going on in the reptile world. Be good to each other, and we'll see you Monday.